ladies and gentlemen. It is time for Game 3 here in EUL, our final Playday in the second stage of the 2021 season. Welcome back to the Analyst Desk for the third matchup. Again, I'm Melch, the medic host of the show. With me are Captain Fluke, Amélie.
Yes, if you wish to use the full title.
Yes.
People got to find
Her
you
Majesty.
on your Twitter. This is the thing. Yep,
Her Majesty
provide
Captain
great
I
content,
wouldn't
please.
go to my Twitter.
I
Go
would.
to the R6 Esports EU Twitter for the good things.
Of
There's your
which
plug.
Captain Fluke is on.
Over which I'm on some of them.
Or exclamation mark Fluke in chat. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Jess Bolden, of course, on the other side. So
Yo.
how about we have a chat, my lovely ladies, about our next game, Empire
I suppose.
versus
Yeah, sure.
G2. I mean, we are kind of
You
paid
are.
to do
I
it.
do.
So,
I do need a coffee after this desk, though. People can see my
yeah.
What are they called? Bags under your eyes?
They're called eyes, I think.
People can
But
see
I'm
my
not
eye.
the optometrist.
You're the
This is not an
optometrist.
eye.
What? Oh.
You've got it wrong, girlfriend. Good try.
You know what you are, though? The apple of my eye.
Oh,
Delicious. Do you ever eat an apple vertically?
What?
what?
There's a thought there.
Thank you very much. So I hope chat is thinking about this in the meantime. How about we have a chat about our two teams, starting off with G2 first. Why not? Let's put this team currently number 1 in EUL.
Numero
dissect.
uno. Where I wanted them to be, where I want them to be after this Playday. I did say, I think 2 Playdays ago, that I want G2 after their reformation here with the addition of Hungry and Yonka, the experienced Hungry and the rookie of Yonka, to come on in and just make G2 one of the best again. You know what I mean? Make G2 great again kind of thing. And that's how I'm kind of feeling. I know you're giving me the face there. I know. You hate it, don't you?
I do.
I hate it too. I can't believe it came out of my mouth.
Yes.
Nevertheless, it's already come out of my mouth, so quote me however you please. They have that little blip in the radar against Na'Vi there, and Dez is very disappointed in me from across the room. And big thing for me is that I think they will finish this stage at the top of the leaderboard, but of course, as we know with this matchup here, Team Empire will be their biggest opponent to be able to grasp that top spot here.
What? Who's that? It's Empire. They're obviously the opponents, and they're tough. That's the nightmare here. It's 2 teams that know each other so well, and it's 2 teams that have sort of had mixed bags recently over the past sort of couple seasons. They haven't quite been at the heights that either of them have been. They're generally, in the side of G2, very different to how they once were as well. There's been some changes from Empire, but nowhere near as much. And what we've also seen this split is the first time these 2 teams at the same time have looked threatening. Before, it's sometimes one, sometimes the other. Empire, they had a pretty bad start, as you can see. But one of the things that we said about that game was any team against BDS that played that first game would have suffered similar things. They're impossible to stop. Since then, they've obviously picked themselves up. Since then, they've obviously had a much better game, and they're going to come into this because, sure, both these teams are qualified for Mexico. Sure, both of them are in the major, and both of them have a good chance. But they really want to end the day top here.
And of course, see, it could only get better from there, and that's what happened with Empire after that very
Thankfully.
first game. So thankfully for them, of course, they rallied back. They're really at the top here.
I
It's pretty
feel
impressive.
like it's literally all Joystick said was going from 1 ping to 80 ping. He just had to readjust himself, and so did his teammates, and it just took a game or 2. And
Somebody
if
had to
that's how
check his
simple it
DNS
is-
server built into his cyborg body.
If that's all it was, then shout out to him.
All right, let's see our head-to-head. You guys picked 1 player out of each one of these 2 teams. I guess today we are focusing on the stats-wise for this. It's always, and it's Citizen, not surprising.
I mean, Citizen's the 2nd highest rated player in all of EUL. He gets the runner-up. If we're doing Olympic kind of analogies at the moment, because I've been watching so much Olympics, he gets the silver medal. He's on the podium for the entirety of EUL. He picked that 2nd place, and he's done really well. He's almost like the shadow of Shaiko at the moment, just right behind him in entries, sort of kills, KD, and in the overall rating. So he's done a massive job here for the side of G2. And on the other side, there's a man that contested Playday for the cost.
Yeah, always has really sort of dug himself in the split. He's been fantastic. He's been kind of what they've needed. Empire, obviously, you always saw them as this very stoic and well put together, strategy-driven team, and having a player with that consistency to keep finding their way into these engagements. He's having a good season in terms of his KD. He's having a good season in terms of getting in against your opponents. They were missing that. They were missing that sort of middle cog to keep the machine turning.
All right.
Yeah.
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 That just look from the side. It always
I try and
it
keep
hits.
myself camera front.
You
so
love
that
the
sometimes
camera.
when I look
And the camera
at,
loves you.
see, I do like to make faces, and sometimes when I look at Milosh, I give him the side eye, and I think it gives him the wrong impression.
I'm
But it's just
gonna
me trying to stay camera-centric.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So our map for this series as our lobby is pretty much ready. So let's see. Show me the money. It's Oregon Clubhouse, banned out by Empire. Wow, Em, for the first time, you didn't get to cast Oregon over the past 3 weeks.
The thing is, okay, Oregon, it has some interest. This split, I've become a bit of a professional because I've casted quite a lot. There's been a bit of an extension in the height of Oregon. I think we're going to see G2 explore that today. I think Empire, they're probably going to play this as a pretty more familiar Oregon, but I think G2 might show us some cool, fun things.
Well, it's not saving strats.
I was going to say both of these teams, there is not a chance they put everything on display today. That, in my mind, would be ridiculous, and that would be reckless considering you have Mexico coming up. But the last time these teams went head-to-head on this exact map was 6 Invitational, when it was a 7-5 for G2. So maybe we can see a bit of a revenge match on this.
A very different G2 from back in those days. So really,
I mean,
who knows?
SI G2
was horrible.
Well,
They have
don't mix
Mexico to
words.
redeem themselves.
And I hope Hungary has the attire for it. Well, Jess, M, thank you so very much. When we come back, we'll break things out of this game, but it's G2 versus Empire. We're going to go to Oregon for this one. Again, it's Ace and Des. Take it away, boys.
Thank you very much, Milos. Not going to lie, really surprised that we're heading to Oregon. G2 not played it once this stage. It has been their first ban, I believe, in 6 of their 9 games. And Empire also one of their first 2 bans pretty consistently, bar the one time they've played it. So, was not on my expectations of the map that we head to today. But at a time when both of these teams are on a 6-game win streak, someone has to lose that streak here today. One will press on, become 7-0, heading into the major. A pretty scary streak to be on, coming into such a pivotal event. Let's see how it plays out, though, Ace. I'm excited to see how Oregon shakes down.
It's a huge part of the story of Stage 2 that is going to happen right now in front of us. Who is going to take that top spot? Just to give everybody the lowdown on exactly how that works out. An overtime win or better is good enough for G2. An overtime win for Empire might not be enough. If BDS are able to tie them up, of course, then we look back to that 7-0 at the beginning of the stage, and BDS would take the top spot. So that is how the chips may fall, depending on the result. Team Empire, they're going to give us a ban to follow up from that Thatcher of G2. No surprises so far.
The Thatcher there, I mean, admittedly, after watching Empire play with the Thatcher against Na'Vi on Consular, I'd be very surprised if they ever get hold of that operator again. They bullied Na'Vi with it on the attacking side. Forget about clearing Evil Eyes from above, burning through ADSs. Just get all the way through and yeet these EMPs in and watch the plant be easy as 1, 2, 3. The Ying target ban coming in against Hungary on the side of G2. We've seen Hungary mixing in things like the Lion, the Capitao, the Monty, the Ying, clearly identifying they do not want to deal with that. And Valkyrie, been a pretty staple pick for G2, especially on maps like Clubhouse, putting it behind the little lanterns and lights that you get going down main stairs. So I wouldn't go as far as saying Valkyrie a 100% target ban against G2, but definitely acknowledging their strength with it. And the final ban coming out of G2 is going to be that Mirror. Another one that on this map, I believe it was Unnights that Empire played against early in the season. They really struggled to get past the Mirror, especially down in the basement. So for me, a good ban against Empire, but like the Thatcher, like the Valkyrie, good generalist bans anyway.
I'm excited about this game. That is what I do know for sure. We have got 2 of arguably the best teams from Stage 2.
Not even arguably.
I mean, they are the
best
top
teams.
2 at the minute.
Exactly.
The thing is, you start then making an argument about BDS, and I know they sat in third.
Numbers.
I know they
Numbers,
sat in
Ace.
third.
Okay.
You start making that argument about BDS. You've got to remember, Des, those teams aren't fixed until the end of today.
Yes.
So that's where the arguably comes in. But they have, without a doubt, been 2 of the most entertaining teams to watch. We've had some huge moments from both of these. Watching the resurgence of Empire has been a sight to behold, and G2, they really have settled in very quickly with this updated roster that they've had. But we head into round 1. We're going to be going down to basement. It's going to be Laundry as the first defensive side. It's G2 starting us on the defense, and it's Easy who is going to be observing.
It's really funny, literally about 2 days ago, I was thinking I want to make a suggestion of showing us who's observing, because I always end up on the production channel that we have where you guys don't hear us anymore, but production do, and I go, who's observing this one? And normally I get medics going, it's me, medics. I'm like, fantastic. I don't know when you became Italian, but apparently that's the thing. Whereas here, we've got Easy. Not going to complain at all. I think the one situation worth raising in this, by the way, way, because Empire lost to G2 and Empire lost to BDS and G2 beat BDS. If Empire win this game in overtime, they get 2 points, and BDS go on to get 3 points in their game against Na'Vi. BDS would steal first place, but that is the only eventuality in which they take first place. Empire win overtime, BDS finish first place.
I think Jonker was on a little bit of a drone hunt there up on the top floor on the KE, just taking a few out inside dorms. I'm not sure that G2 will be committing any men that high or that far into the map. Hungry does get himself out on the roam for the time being. Maybe again, just a little bit of drone hunting, looking to take them down. They're not going to find the one inside of security. And look at this, Des. Joystick. He's just pushing in with absolutely no messing about. 35 seconds in, and he's practically at the top of Freezer stairs. But Citizen, he manages to find one onto Dan, and guess what it is? It's that smoke again.
Where did he jump out? Did he? Okay. I mean, one thing I'll note again is he's got the FMG on side for a thing, the smoke, and now he's going to find himself dead inside a construction.
I mean, he was a long way outside the map. I'm guessing he's come out a big tower and tried to go back in.
I'm just confused. Okay, I'm just confused.
Given where he's died, I think he's...
I just launched... I don't think he meant to be... I don't know. We'll find out later on.
What the plan was.
Just watch the timeline later. I'm sure Citizen will be talking all about it post-game. But again, I spoke about in the prior series how we saw Durza, not prior series, one we cast in the first game of the day. We had Durza running around on the smoke with the FMG as well. It's becoming ever more popular, and Citizen was the player that started it all off a few weeks ago on Chalet. We've seen Leon run it since then, and I wouldn't be too surprised if going into the Mexico Major, we do see a few European teams running around with that pick.
More than likely. Shepard just continuing the work on the hatch there. Once he gets to a percentage of damage, it will drop through. I don't know if he's just going to move away. It's not wanting to play
Screw this,
with
guys.
him. They've managed to get the laundry hatch open, so that is a big start. And
he needed 2.5 canisters left to be able to get the meeting hatch as well, so that was one of those, look, I'm not going to carry on here. Just get the Selmas in there. One Selma won't hurt us. Let's get it done.
And that's it. As I say, it's a percentage of damage, so normally it would take 2 Selma devices to clear a hatch out. But because some damage has already been done with the Maverick blowtorch, 1 Selma is then sufficient. So that's going to be all 3 hatches getting opened up once Shepard finishes his work in there in meeting. So it's a
He's run out. No!
reasonable start from G2.
Who did this a couple of weeks ago? Was it secretly? I forget who did it. There was someone who did this, and it was still closed.
They'd had to burn out the hatch in laundry to clear out the mute jammer, and it didn't leave them quite enough for meeting.
No, unfortunate. I mean, he had 2.5, and you'd wager that should be enough, but apparently not. Here comes Kite with a shotgun on the doorway. As a grenade comes singing round, Shepard catch him on the flip side. There's a trade coming through between the two, but that will be the elbow cleared out. That's what you're looking for mainly. You'll take the 1-for-1 in that position as Virtue goes for yet another Yonker. Again, a direct trade back. It's back and forth between the two until Always gets one without response. Hungry finds that response. A 1 versus 1, but whereas Always, he hasn't got diffuser. He's going to have to try and push for a kill. Knows roughly where the man is, but can't find him. First round going the way of G2.
Well played out by Hungry at the end there in the 1 versus 2. Gets himself a kill, but then very aware of that timer ticking down and just keeps himself safe inside a site. Locks it out. G2 take the first defence of Laundry, which is reasonably to be expected, especially with that meeting hatch staying closed. That was obviously a part of Empire's plan to be able to pressure into pillars, but it wasn't to be this time around.
It's a real kicker again that we've seen that happen twice in 2 weeks, or 2 play days in EUL. One I'm sure teams will be looking back on and thinking, right, we need to avoid that, because as soon as the direct push tries to come in without any kind of meeting hatch assistance, you tend to find that you're a little bit restricted, and often defenders can put themselves in very comfortable spots. Somewhere out towards Pillar, for example, things look comfortable. Meeting and Kitchen going to be our next site, so rather than going upstairs to the top floor, where most teams will choose to head next, here it's going to be this Meeting and Kitchen setup. And I love this site because you see the variations of teams where the 2 styles of attacks are very different. Some will just force their way into Big Tower, try and plant on the stage, and it's all about long-range engagements from, say, Split, or you get other ones, which is the more conventional take, I'd say, where you're taking the top floor, getting control of kids, because there'll always be a roamer in there, and then looking to plant inside a kitchen.
Yeah, more often than not, we do see a bit of a defensive top floor. I think that's exactly what we're going to see. We've got the reinforcements going in there. We've got the barbed wire going down, so a lot of utility being expended. Now, the interesting factor here is that from Attic, other than the hatch, you can't really challenge into meeting, so you can't really use those vertical angles for about 50% of the site, but you can absolutely dominate kitchen with it. So if Empire move in through small tower, dining, get control over that area and look to push into kitchen, top floor control is going to be absolutely absolutely essential for them.
Do you remember last week we had BDS versus Virtus Pro, and there was this hole on the top floor? One inside of Kids, they had one playing in Pig, and they had an Echo playing behind a shield that was looking down through that hatch as a way to deny it. WTG, Crouch walks his way up White Stairs, kills 2 people, completely shuts the attack down. But I'm always keen, and I'm always watching to see if defenders are using a more vertical setup for the meeting defense. At least here, it's only partly that one. Instead, it's playing over Kids rather than looking to play inside of Attic. Joystick, as you're now starting to probably realise, this is his go-to bread and butter push. He'll always start in small tower and work his way across on this Sophia, then look to pressure into Zulu, and no doubt start thinking about White Stairs. With this being that downstairs site, though, you'll be very mindful of there being a player or 2 hanging around the top of Freezer, 1 in security, for example, and you do need to keep a very close eye out for those.
John could just peek in this angle from security onto exactly where Joystick is pushing. He's not getting aggressive at the moment, which allows Joystick to step across the line of sight there and get himself up White Stairs. This could be a big problem for Kayak on the Maestro, especially if Joystick knows where he's playing. He's hard left at the minute, but no, Kayak's going to keep himself safe for the time being. Joystick just very aware that there's a man inside of security. His backside is not safe, and he's being very cautious about that at the minute, not being pressured too much so far.
This man's playing a stealth game. He's not playing a threat out game. He's like, hey, you, been detected by the guards, and now they're aware. No doubt the call will have come in that the man's on white. Step comes out from second for the SMG. Doesn't connect onto Joystick, though. He's been so cheeky. I can't believe he's been here for 45 seconds, basically on challenge. As said, 1 top of Freezer, 1 inside security. This might be a challenge coming in on the left any second now. The man just behind his scope, he wins the 1. Does he know about the man inside of Freezer? He should do. But fortunately for him, not brought down. But he is left ace on a slither of HP.
An absolute fraction now as Joystick deploys that Claymore. Surely Kayak finishes him, yes. Steps out with the Alder, gets the kill, level things up 4 to 4. 54 seconds left to go and no top floor control yet as Kayak attacks and they can't fight back. Either put down on the top floor. The Maestro going wild up there. First a kill onto Joystick and then puts G2 ahead. 40 seconds left to go and top floor control is nowhere near gained for Team Empire yet.
They brought him down to about 30 HP at this point, but Kayak is holding strong. They still need to get him out, and there comes the nade. As we say it, we speak it into existence. Down with the nade kill onto Kayak. We'll clear out that top floor. But the thing is, the top floor is not really the focus. We're thinking here about the downstairs. Virtue still holding inside a Pig, and do they know? Oh, what a flick onto Shepard's head that was. Still 2 left, and let's not forget again that we're focusing on the downstairs site here, Ace. This is going to be a Hail Mary. The drop coming in. Hungry, he's got a shotgun at the ready. 1 drops in. It's as simple as that. Citizen finds 1, and this is why that clock is so important to watch, Ace.
Easy finish for G2 there. All the work that Empire did in that mid to late round, I'm not saying it was meaningless, but they were in a situation whereby they were low time and they had to push as a bit of a Hail Mary onto site, dropping hatches and dropping into Citizen and Hungry. You know, 2 players that are going to hold down that site all day long. You'd gone through all these outer layers of the defence, but they hadn't at that point even impacted on the core at all.
Was unfortunate. You speak about it yourself there. All the focus was around the top floor because of the work that Kayak was doing, and Empire have to put all their resources onto the top floor. 2-0 to G2. Good start on the defense here. Kid Storm's going to be where we head to now. The expected site, I think, here. You wouldn't expect a team to miss that as their third site in the rotation. Mainly because like a mute can be so powerful up here. It can be really hard to get information on the top floor. If you want to play aggressive, we've seen Playday on BDS, not fully reinforcing this wall, but the wall that Yonker is reinforcing right now, sometimes left soft. You can step up with a shotgun, play a smoke on there if you want to. Lots that you can do. And you and I, Ace, we love talking about this double reinforcement coming inside a trophy, where some teams will leave some of that soft, put a shield down inside a Pig, and use that to challenge onto the armory stairs. G2's take on that, at least, is to double reinforce that wall off, make it a little bit safer for those that are playing inside a Pig to be able to contest comfortably.
Absolutely that. I mean, it's likely to invite Empire in through that side of the map, I would expect. They'll get the push going into master bedroom, try and get that closet wall open. There is utility, there are holes opened up to make it difficult for them to do that. Citizen's playing this very aggressively up on that door at the moment. There is a hole knocked just down towards the bottom of that barricade, so whether he's going to look to drop an angle down and get a peek out here or not, it just seems like he's waiting to play on a little bit of information. I'm not sure exactly what that is. They've got a bulletproof cam available, but no Valkyrie cams, obviously, as she is banned out, so don't know exactly what Citizen is waiting for there, but takes a little look, and he's not going to get any joy out by the main entrance.
Again, Joystick, we always speak about it, doing his thing off towards the west as well, coming in from Shower's side, looking to push him. For me, this kind of first 60 seconds or so you're going to see out of Empire is going to be very consistent in most rounds. One thing you are getting is there's a lot of them currently looking to stack out towards the west and push their way forward. Small Tower started out as a bit of focus in case you had someone being cheeky inside of there. Scyther on this book. The horizontal destruction, something that Gorgona from Kavana spoke about an awful lot. He likes the book because you can open the wall and suddenly, bam, your gun's at the ready to kill someone who's waiting on the other side. In that case, not really looking to find a kill, but more the fact that you can be quite mobile with the book in the first place. And here, of course, it's about getting underneath and shooting things out from below. But to do that, you need that vertical control. You need to get underneath. And Kayak, standing as a bastion of hope for G2 here with a shotgun in hand, is daring them to step up for the challenge.
Opening rotations, taking drones out, giving himself every opportunity to stay in this position for as long as possible, but will not be successful as he will now find himself in a down but not out state. I don't think it will take Empire long to get in and finish that kill off, and Dan does exactly that, opening up the account for Empire here inside of round 3. They've taken a good while to get inside of the map, and there, as of yet, hasn't been any pressure coming into sight. Once again, I've commented on that already for Empire, but they managed to find a bit of vertical pressure there. Virtue goes down just after Yonka. Hungry starts to fight back, but it's 4 versus 2, and pressure's going to mount inside of sight now. Joystick at the top of White Stairs gets himself a kill onto Citizen. 1v4 now. Hungry's got it all to do.
Oh, man, it's, really difficult at this point where every time G2 steps somewhere, there's a drone catching their movements and Empire responding. Kind. Dan, the man from above, brings down the final one. Hungry falling to the ground, and so does the round for G2. Empire with a bit of fight back then, 2-1, and that is, although not what most would normally consider the offsite, that is the offsite round loss here. 2-1, you get the same rotation of sites again, most likely. If it carries on that way, 4-2 at the half, you're not going to be too beat up about that if you're Empire.
I'm sure that many neutrals watching this will be glad to see Empire, and many Empire fans as well, will be glad to see them come and get a round on the board, because this one promised to be such a big game, such a battle of the behemoths between these two, fighting for that top spot and the bragging rights that go along with it. That we really don't want somebody coming in and just absolutely dominating this. G2, they look good for those first few rounds, and there's a little niggling thought in the back of my mind that it might just be heading into a bit of a one-sided affair, but absolutely not. Team Empire managed to get round 3, and hopefully that's going to be a catalyst for them. It's just going to light a fire underneath the Russian side, and they're going to come back fighting here in round 4.
FMG smoke once again being brought out by Citizen. We spoke about before how it was more like a roaming sort of setup. It isn't really meant to be a full roam. Like, you're not going to see him charging off around the top floor, but it's more, think about like Cafe when you're playing on Pixel, when you want a shield in front of you to sit there and challenge those spots, put a gun that can do better than, say, an SMG could. FMG is absolutely perfect for that. So don't expect to see him dug right in on site playing super defensively. Your likelihood is you're going to see him, though, being on the smoke at least, playing at the bottom of elbow, and given the shields going down there, it's the kind of thing you come to expect, being that kind of initial greeter in the basement. Wouldn't be mildly surprised to see him, though, looking to go a bit more aggressive in the early round and get something done.
So last time around, attacking onto this site, Team Empire really struggled with the hatches. We saw them struggle on that freezer one to open it up with the Maverick. It left them not enough gas in the canister to open meeting. No real vertical superiority was established, and they struggled to get themselves moving in towards site particularly. They need to do that differently this time. They need to make sure that they're affecting the site, and this is something I've picked up on once or twice, that they need to be impacting on that core. Hungry, starting to predict that movement of Joystick.
Absolutely, yeah. Perfect read on Joystick there, knowing that he likes to come into small tower. G2 just trying to slow Empire down. I was kind of surprised to see that it was Citizen on the smoke being the one who was challenging up big tower stairs, and he's doing the same right now. You've got Virtue up there, so he's kind of playing support to him from below here, Citizen. Those smokes could actually prove to be really valuable in that he's already consumed one, or at least placed one. I don't know if it's been deployed here, but he is the drone catcher, the one looking to remove those that will come in from the right-hand doorway, kill them off so they can't easily get a drone in onto Virtue. Good bit of team play coming in from the G2 duo. Dan just checking the rear stage stairs up above the basement level before moving in. Knows that he's safe to start challenging down towards Pillar should he so choose. Citizen's going to drop away into Shaiko's spot for the time being to just try and hold on to those rear stage stairs and prevent the push coming in from that direction now then. However, I don't think Dan's drone picked up Virtue on T3 of Big Tower. Could be a big move coming in from Virtue, Des. Oh, it could be. Honestly, if they don't drone him out here and he manages to get down and shut down this Big Tower push, would be absolutely absolutely huge for them. Shepard, at least this time round, not making a mistake of burning through that gas too early, putting all the focus onto the Meeching hatch because it is just so crucial for the side of this push. And as you always say, Ace, that percentage of destruction has come out and it has been opened up. The big question for me is whether or not they know he's there, they're just ignoring him for now, if they've got a flank drone on him, for example, or whether or not he can strike big. Because patience is a virtue, but is virtue patience is the big question.
This is it. It's all down to timing now, Des. It's all how long dare he hold on before he makes that push down rear stage, but it could be absolutely critical when it does come in. It could be lethal
Yonka
to the Empire efforts. Yonka's going to find himself downed. It sounded like an explosive, so potentially an hit going in. There it is. Virtue goes big from the big tower and finds himself a triple. We saw it early in the round and we were just waiting, Des. We were waiting for them to be ensnared in his trap, and that's exactly what has happened.
Well, the question I asked or said, patience is a virtue, but is virtue patience? The answer is no. Citizen coming out with another. He's completely put the lights out of Empire. Citizen and Kayak stepping up to be the closing kills for the team. Just goes to show, Ace, bit of information goes a long way. And again, like we said back in the first game of the day, these small things that happen early in the round turn into a cascading avalanche later in the round.
Well, the
Wonderful
thing is,
work.
it was all set up for it, really, because they've not droned out T3. They've sent the drone up to T2, which is, by the way, what we refer to the different stories, the different floors of the big tower as. So the very top one up there is T3. They've sent the drone with Dan into T2, not spotted Virtue. They move it back down. Now, we did see him leave it as a flank drone at rear stage stairs. The problem is, and this is where it was set up for Virtue, Des, there was still 5 men alive. So who's going to be sitting watching a flank drone at that point? Probably nobody. We've got 50 seconds left in the round. They've all got jobs to do. So they're going to be pushing in towards site looking for kills. So Virtue is then able to move down unimpeded by that flank drone and just wipe the floor. He mopped them up like a spilt drink, Des. He absolutely went through them for fun. If somebody on the side of Empire is dead, maybe that doesn't happen the same way because maybe somebody sat on that drone.
It's one of those that you'll look at, even the things like Citizen poking his head up on the smoke and killing the drones. Small things sometimes. And this is a nice replay for you as well in case you missed it.
The drone
Steps
wouldn't have
down
even
the
seen him.
spray.
Even if I don't know if the drone is still alive and active. It should. Yeah, it is there. You can see it in front of us.
You just can't see it because it's too shallow.
It's there in front of us, but it wouldn't have even spotted Virtue out. So even if somebody was sat on it, which with 5 alive at that stage in the round is probably unlikely, even if somebody was sat on it, it wasn't sufficiently positioned, really. If it's up on top of the boxes that it was next to, then it can see into the rear stage stairs. But where it was positioned, it couldn't. And the thing is, yeah, you know, with hindsight, it's easy to criticise that.
Yeah.
It's such a small margin. It's these fine margins.
How often do we call that out happening?
Yeah.
Very, very rarely have I ever seen someone be sitting at the top of a tower like that and get a flank off. In fact, we saw it last week, and we actually asked the player, I forget who it was on the interview, did you know about the player? In fact, it was in APAC North. It was Static from Cloud9 who was playing in Big Tower, and the team that beat them said, we knew he was there, we just kept a flank drone on him and didn't worry about him. But that was a genuine case of cluelessness there, and you can see the impact for yourself. 3-1 for G2. Let's see then how this round plays out. Joystick this time round pushing from a different angle, so not coming across from the shower side. Just making sure there's no mute jammer underneath this wall, which is wonderfully done. So inside 60 seconds, Classroom 4 has been blown out, and Joystick has just walked his way up Armory and found a kill onto Kayak. Maybe not expecting someone to be so aggressive at Trophy Door so early on. Pays off pretty big for the side of Empire.
Kayak struggling a little bit in those early battles. That's his second entry death. He's had a couple of moments within the game. I'm certainly not suggesting he's quiet overall, but struggling when he does get into the entry battles. Joystick getting in there and finding that opener. So Team Empire once again coming in and taking that early advantage. They do lead so far 3-2 in the entry stakes out of 5 rounds, but it's not translating itself to the scoreboard. G2 showing that they're able to play short-handed quite proficiently. Now, got Citizen just rotating around from that top side. He's going to be heading back to site. Virtue's playing inside a big tower again, but the majority of this push is coming from the small tower side.
A really small thing I want to draw a note to here. Watch Kayak's icon on his player card in the top right corner. He has not stopped flicking between cameras and players the whole way through. He's the IGL, don't forget. He needs to know where his players are. With the information he can get from the 1 or 2 default cams left up, plus the player POVs, the information that he can feed back and forth and call amongst players here, really valuable. Good to not see him sitting stationary, and now now, by the looks of it, Empire know there's a flank on as well, as Virtue has got up behind them. He loves Big Tower. They should know about this by now, but he's come up those back stairs, Ace, and it's giving them an absolute migraine from the back.
Hungry manages to find the shotgun onto Joystick, level things out at 4-4, and as you say, Empire so far don't seem to have a solution to the problem that is Virtue. Not only that, but Citizens playing underneath in meeting, trying to get aggressive onto that hatch angle if they do push up into attics or something that Team Empire again need to be aware of. Yonka just holding down security for the time being. Challenge from above will be shut down. Dan finds the kill. 4 versus 3. Here comes Virtue, shut down by Dan as well. A big round from him, but the time is ticking by. It's down to Citizen. 2 versus 2. Gets himself a triple. Hungry once again. Where have we seen that before, Des? And the answer is back in round number 3. It was closed out. No, round number 2. Closed out by Hungry and Citizen left on site. And once again, it's Empire not affecting that core of the defence enough until they get into that late round. And where have we seen this before? The time ticking by for Empire and them having to rush in the last 10 seconds.
Citizen is just something else, isn't he, at times? The number of times throughout the stage that I can think of, we get to a mid-round or late-round stage, and he just pops his head above the parapet and gets 3 kills that shuts down an entire attack. Because for a second there, the momentum was completely with Empire. Dan, the 2K on the top floor, a 5 versus 3, you think, okay, Empire can do this. Then you forget that Citizen exists on the enemy side and he can do plays like that. Just completely kills everything for Empire. Not just the players, but the momentum, the hopes of winning the round. Beautiful closing play. 4-1 to G2. Again, reminding you the stakes on the line here. Both teams on a 6-game win streak. They have not lost in 6 play days. That ends today for one of these two teams, and with the way that it's playing, you'd wager it's going to be Empire.
As you say, you know, for me there, like I say, it's about not affecting the core of site enough. Those good couple of kills for Empire, they come in with 30 seconds left to go.
13 seconds then.
And they're off site. So they've still got this ton of work to do to get themselves established and start putting that diffuser down. And it just feels like Empire have slipped back a little bit into that sort of malaise that we used to talk about, where it was always the last 10 seconds that they were pushing onto site and trying to throw the diffuser down, you know, in the nick of time. And it's just not working out for them against G2. G2 quite capable of punish them. As you've said, Citizen having a real day so far, just managing to keep himself out of the action and just waiting for those late round situations.
It's the second round in a row now that Joystick has opted to push in from the southeast side as well, foregoing showers and saying, I don't care about that. Because in both rounds, he's done this same thing where he gets up underneath in Classroom, blows out the floor below the reinforced wall, and away forward from there they go. Whereas normally he'd come from showers. Now, I was going to say if he comes from showers in this round, G2 know that he slipped through the net somehow last time and got onto white stairs. The same thing would not be happening again, that's for sure. Also worth noting, I just saw there's a mute jammer on the left-hand side of that wall. It's only narrowly on the left, but it wasn't shot out underneath by Joysticks. They can only open up the right side here. That's normally the side that you want to be opening up anyway, so no massive biggie on that front. But just a note here that they might find themselves with a Selma or two stuck on this wall, depending on what side always goes for. Should be the right, sorry, yeah.
Citizen, for the time being, just playing underneath, of course, does have a Nitro. No, he's on the impact nades, actually, on the Malusi. It's Yonka and Kayak who are playing the Nitros. One of those still available, but I'm just thinking about Joystick here. Of course, you said looking to move in underneath Classroom, potentially. He's got Hungry on the far side of him. I think Joystick has been and gone. The wall is opened at this point, so there's no reason for him to be found underneath. But Citizen, he's in a position to potentially flank those armory stairs in the late round. And look at where Joystick and Scyther are playing.
I think Always may have seen him driving through lobby. I didn't see if he looked left or not on the camera. If he did, he would have seen Citizen just standing there. But that flank potential exists if they're not watching that, if they haven't got a flank drone down. There'll be question marks to be asked. I'm not sure where the Claymore went down from Joystick either, because if that was down behind him, that could be the real round ruiner for Citizen, but he should have the presence after playing Rome so much to deal with that kind of thing. Now, one of those concussions going straight into an ADS, second one does burn through, so they know that the impact can hit from here. Opening kill coming in onto Virtue. Dan being the one that starts the scoring off, and they know where a couple of these other members are here, Ace. It shouldn't be too hard to clean things up if they keep on moving forwards the way they are.
45 seconds left to go. Let's get this moving, Team Empire. Don't leave it to that last 10 seconds side. well aware of the potential for Citizen coming on the flank. Always shuts down Hungry, who was trying to move himself back to site, and that leaves only Yonker and Kayak in sight with a lot of work to do. And they are not getting anywhere as Joystick moves in and gets the kill onto both of them. It's all up to Citizen. He gets the first, but he's got 4 more to find. Shepard's getting that diffuser down. That's the second for Citizen, but he's seriously low health right now. Diffuser activated, and the round is done as that final kill comes in. Empire, they're going to manage to get one back for a 4-2 half on the attack, which isn't the end of the world.
It's what you come to expect, right, really? I mean, I know we always talk about attacker-defender-sided maps when in reality the stats don't always correlate to the two teams that are facing off against each other, but relatively evenly matched. I'd say 4-2 is a fair representation of what you come to expect on a map like this. Let's see, though, how Empire fare off. I'm just glad, at least for G2, that there is not a mirror on side, because, again, I've seen Empire bully a couple of teams with the mirror, you know, excruciatingly so. So without that on side here, a couple of adaptations to make, no doubt. The Aruni being the one that's brought along for Scyther, alongside the usual suspects on the defensive lineup.
I get the feeling, Des, that there may just be a twist in this tale yet. There are still 6 rounds potentially to be played in regulation time. Let's not forget, any win will do for G2. That will secure them the top spot in EUL Stage 2. Empire looking for a win inside of 12 rounds to guarantee it. So if Empire want to do that, they're going to have to go one better than G2 here. They're going to have to go 5-1 on their defensive half. But I've just got a feeling, now that side switch has come in, that Empire might just find a little bit of momentum on the defence.
It's where I get a little bit nervy for G2. And watching back their games this weekend from the last, I think I watched back their game against... Yeah, that's it. Watching back their game against BDS, watching back their game from last week as well. Similar sort of story at points. Just, I think especially Virtue, the one player, and I don't want to put him on blast here too hard, but a player that sometimes can get a little bit overexcited, I feel, in engagements. And sure, it worked out for him with the 3K coming down the big tower flank. But in other rounds, gets a little bit excited, takes the first kill, then steps into a second or third engagement and often loses his life as a result. So I think almost composure coming out of G2 is the one thing that I want to see. A little bit of calmness on the attack. It's all good being sure of yourself, but let's not overdo it here.
Plenty of droning going on for G2 at the minute. We can see 3 out of 5 there, just feeding information back in. Virtue's going to try and get in aggressively on the sledge, moving across the top floor and opening up some angles down towards security and freezer stairs. Just see if he can spot anybody out, but he won't be able to. Confidently moving across that top floor, which tells me that it's been thoroughly droned at this point. He's also going to get himself a little look down, just opening all these vertical angles that are going to allow them to pressure onto site from multiple angles, which is what we talk about being so important on a laundry attack.
I mean, this vertical start, always to kind of you come to expect. Maybe not all the way up on the top floor to start out the openings with. Anything else? I think more to give them a bit of cover looking at it. Hungry was a little bit of a run on the spot there. Back on the drone down freezer, which kind of starts to suggest that you might see this execute coming in, given Kayaks, especially on the south side, been sat on drone, by the way, in spawn this whole time, bless his soul, will now get to move in. They've got freezer opened up. They're looking towards the same here coming in on the south. What the hell has happened to... Has he been shot from below there, potentially, or just needed out? One of the two. So. They try and finish him off with the impact, but it just doesn't go through. Not
going to be successful. Virtue is on hand to potentially pick him up. I'm guessing that Hungry can't crawl any back further.
What did they get?
Because I'm not sure. It could have been
there's no C4.
No, there's no C4.
One
could have been a Nitro.
I think he just got shot, honestly.
Yeah, could have, like you say, either shot or potentially the impact from Joystick that went out before that one. If it sort of caught him close enough, then bit of a tough one. Maybe a combination of the two, but one way or another, Hungry does get himself
Come on, Ace Detective. Tell me the answer.
One way or another, Hungry does get himself picked up, finds himself on 20 health now, but much like Empire were struggling to, G2 haven't really affected the core of this defence yet.
That nade. Gets into highway and almost brings down side through as well. He was holding the angle like a hawk, waiting for the man to step in. Now the Aruni stepped up for the second challenge. Here comes a new challenger, some may say. Citizen the King holding up on Big Tower. Not yet taking any damage, but they know that he's there, and it's that presence that commands respect. Virtue pushing his way down through freezer. You've also got 2 looking to go for the drop here, all down the laundry stairs. It screams again that you've got this kind of 3-way execute coming in, the sort of thing that we'd often see in LATAM, Ace.
30 seconds left to go, and G2, they need to get moving. They need to get something happening here. Kayak's dropped into sight with the diffuser, but he's going to go absolutely nowhere as Dan puts him down. Hungry with a double, though. Always manages to find Citizen. 3 versus 3, 15 seconds left to go. Diffuser down, cold. G2, they need to recover that, or they need to start finding some kills quickly, and that's not going to help as they push in, and Dan finds one. 2v2. 2v1 as Shepard on the shotgun always finishes things off. Empire lock down the laundry, and just like I thought, we are on for a game.
Shepard commanding the lambs at the end there as well, like a true Shepard would, taking the team through to victory in what looked like a dicey situation for a few seconds. But G2, yes, they were at 4-2. Empire are starting the claw back, and you said yourself you didn't think it would be the end of this tale just yet. Can it? I was comparing this earlier on to like being like the Super Bowl, I said, in that you've got 2 brilliant halves of games on either side of this fixture, and this is the real meat of the show. It's the halftime show, and it's starting to build up to it already. It goes 4-4 in a moment. Overtime screaming. In the El Clasico of EUL, G2 versus Empire, it deserves it.
Oh, it's absolutely anybody's if Team Empire can get this second defensive round on the board. You start coming down to asking questions about that third site then. If they can lock down dorms, how well can they do in either meeting or dining, whichever one that they choose to go to? It could be a big differentiating factor. As I said, there is still the possibility that Empire come out here and take this defensive half 5-1 and just win it inside of 12, but it's going to be a big ask. G2 are playing well so far today, but it's the, I won't say the age-old question, Des, but it's the stage-old question. How long is it going to take G2 to break the seal on that attack? And we've seen it. When the seal gets broken, there's no putting the drink back in the bottle. G2 will absolutely steamroll you. It's just at what point does that attack start gelling?
Really excited to see Hungry on this Capitao. I spoke earlier on about the flexibility that he's had in his operator picks. Things like the Lion, the Ying, the Monty, the Capitao. We've seen him pick them all throughout the stage, but not forgetting, we have not seen G2 play this map all stage long. This is their first time stepping into it. So maybe asking, well, why do that just as a major is just around the corner? Wouldn't you rather save the map and bring it out there? Potentially, but at the same time, if you want to play other maps there and Oregon is intended to be one of your permabans at Mexico, why not play it now and just say, fine, go for it. It isn't really a big deal. But still, the Capitao, I've seen them use it a few times on other maps. Consulate especially comes to mind. Want to see how their use case is for it here. I expect it's going to be a trophy push with those smokes coming in and the fire to deny a push coming in through Pig, for example. We'll keep a close eye on Hungry and see what he can achieve in this round.
Yonka just getting ready on that balcony to start going in and thinking about getting the wall open. But interestingly, there's half spin left soft and they've put the laser gate on there. So that's not going to be a straightforward push now for G2 to just go in and open up what would be the normal default plant spot inside of games. We've got the wall open as we would usually expect up at the top of White Stairs. Now then, are G2 aware of always inside of Armory? That is another big question. He's got the protection of a frost mat underneath the window, which can of course be cleared out from the upside down rappel, but still, if they're not aware of that location, this could be Empire's virtue moment.
The virtue moment. Is that what we're going to start calling these big tower plays now in Tier 1 Siege?
Why not?
Oh, he's done a virtue. Why not? It works just fine. With Citizen going for the showers push in, got support off to his right-hand side. So 2 of them looking to push down here, while one member of Empire's Joystick is going aggressive. Surely there's a drone here to know what's going on. If Citizen isn't fully aware here, in fact, I don't think they are. They don't know that he's tucked around to the right. They know that that impact has gone off straight away. And there it is. Baited Citizen into it. Instant headshot. You've killed the prize of the pride of the pack here, I guess, in Citizen. Happily back yourself away with a kill like that.
I think at that point, Citizen probably thinks the player is more up onto White Stairs. As the impact, as you say, as the concussion grenade went off, it signalled that somebody was there, but you would expect them to be a little bit more defensive in this sort of position now where Joystick is, not right down at the bottom underneath the barricade, and he loses his life, but it's an easy clean up for Virtue. Joystick just getting a bit overly confident, a bit over aggressive there, I think. Once you've got your kill from that location, that's been fed back in, and you can expect it's going to get pre-fired. Joystick will lose his life. 4v4, but 30 seconds left to go.
The 2 of them just constantly going back at each other. These 2 teams, the shots like that, the first one coming out of Joystick, the second one out of Virtue, unbelievable accuracy onto those instant headshots against some of the best gunners in the world. Now with White control though, Virtue starting to walk his way up. We've got 15 seconds to go, and Dan sprays through the smoke with the frost, finds one for himself. Side third, another, always a third, and like that it has been completely shut out. We waited to see what the Capitao could do. Apparently not a lot. Empire get the shutdown with 4 kills in a row.
Level things up at 4-4, and that early early superiority that came in from G2 is almost forgotten, Des. The Empire are not messing about here. Got themselves on the defense. They're fighting back. They want that top spot.
Would it be a fantastic halftime show if it didn't go basically the distance? Yeah, I'll accept an 8-6. That's okay. But
We want overtime.
But we want overtime. The boys want overtime all the way through between these two. It's always a screamer to watch. And I love the variety that we're seeing here, where rounds are being won in so many different ways. Like, whoever thought in that case you would see 4 kills coming through that fast for Empire? You've had Virtue's flash flank earlier on as well. It has just been back and forth between the two of them. That's what we live to see. You don't want a 7-0. You want a back and forth game. And we're getting it.
We are, and I mean, this next round is going to be very important. It's no surprise to see G2 taking the time out at this point because, as I said, that's the two sort of primary sites or primary secondary. There's no real major favourite between Dorms and Laundry. It's generally just down to a team preference. But Empire have got the 2 lockdown that we would expect them to get on defence. They now have to go and find a third site. They're going to be going to meeting by the looks of things, and this could be the real defining factor of this game because let's not forget Team Empire do have the option, the opportunity here to just keep winning rounds and to take this 5-1, 6-0. You know, there's the potential there for them to just keep going. And G2, they got to find something.
You know what they've found, Ace? They've gone for a rummage in the old operator selection screen, and Hungary has procured Rotero drones. They're bringing along the Flores in this round. So that's another one of the operators that he'll play in the stage. Been quite a few at this count. I love seeing Flores at the minute. I honestly think he is stupidly oppressive. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. I know some are saying, take one of his boom bots away. I wouldn't be so far pressed to say maybe 2 need to go because he is so good at forcing defenders back. They've got themselves behind shields with ADSs stacked around. Maybe one gets caught out. The second one gets through, gone. Gets rid of bulletproofs, gets rid of evil eyes, all without ever actually exposing an operator. Really, really oppressive. And it does give us something fun to watch. In about the mid-round, that kind of 2 minutes down to 1 minute remaining piece, let's keep a close eye on those Roteros, please, Easy, and we'll see how his use case of them plays out.
G2 need to learn from their own success here when defending this site in the first half. Empire, they're going for that top floor hold, and the reason that G2 was successful was that they managed to burn so much time of Empire's. Empire were left dropping hatches into site with 10 seconds left to go. So Empire, they need to learn from that, and they need to try and do the same thing. Frustrate G2 in the same way. Play that game of cat and mouse up on the top floor. Take the challenges only when you have to, burn time, and then importantly, of course, find kills. We've got a number of players up on the top floor. We can see we've got Joystick there, we've got Always. They are ready. Dan out in Kids Dorms as well. There's plenty of utility. We can see all 3 of Jaeger's ADSs. We've got reinforcements. We've got everything they should need. But I'm not sure G2 are going to play into this, Des. They might just decide to go straight into meeting.
When I saw that get blown off then, I was like, is that a rush about to come through? But apparently not. Either way, it's going to be up to the north side as that's been opened up here. Maybe this is just a phantom pressure I would speak about, though, because I think it's only, well, it's no one at this point who's hanging up there. But G2 should be able to get both of these walls opened up, and now there's that threat of, okay, someone pushing up the stairs, and they're just trying to go for a stage plant. I spoke about this earlier on. You can try and push the top floor if you want, get control of kids and look for a plant inside a kitchen. Normally just descend into absolute chaos where it's about frags rather than planting in most instances, I'd wager. But here, at least, more often than not, I'd say it comes down to the plant. Oh, look at this. That's cheeky. Shepard's got to move. Still trapped in the corner, though. Perfectly safe behind the sandbags.
And that's where he will try to keep himself locked in for as long as possible.
Grenade.
This is very much the Liquid defence. This is generally how Team Liquid try to hold on to this spot, is keep somebody tight up in that corner to look to try and get the denial down there. Hungary's going to send in the Rotero drone, and that is just another function of those drones. But Shepard put in those sandbags to great use. How much utility has he soaked at this point just by lying behind that obstacle?
Where'd that smoke go? I'm not quite sure where he threw it, but the Evil Eye now being consumed off the wall. We spoke about those, and look at that. Utility removed essentially for free here. Virtue pushing in behind the bomb, finds one onto Shepard. They've removed the man playing behind the bunker and now have control of the stage side. Hungry, though, down in the process as Citizen finds a second kill in the round onto Scyther here. 5 versus 3. Hungry back on his feet, but they've got to worry about the vertical kayak. honestly, sublime timing. Perfect time to arrive and bring down Joystick, and now Yonka can go for the plant on the stage. In comes down from the side, shuts him down, the cover wasn't there, and gets the second onto Hungry. How has that happened? Kayak finding another from outside. A 1 versus 3 for Dan. Shouldn't be walking away with this one, Ace, but you never know.
Absolutely not, but he's already got himself a double. Misses his shots there. No. That's his moment, Dan. That's the opportunity to get this down into a manageable portion size, but no, he leaves himself with a 1 versus 3, and he's bitten off a lot to chew here. Diffuser goes down. Lots of work to be done. Just tries the pot shot through the soft wall. Not going to find anybody like that, I wouldn't expect. The challenge comes into him in Kitchen. Surely a matter of time here. There we go. Citizen it is to find that final kill. G2 get themselves ahead again, and that is the third site. Empire failed to lock it down, so that could well put us on a course careening towards overtime.
Honestly, seeing Joystick with the angle down through the meeting hatch onto the man, Yonka with the diffuser, and then Kayak just slaps him in the head from on the rappel outside. Oh, sublime timing, absolutely perfect. And basically secures G2 that round. Otherwise, Diffuser is cold dead on the ground. Dan can still pull off his flank up green, and things fall apart from there. 5-4 to G2. Next up we head to is going to be back down into the basement. If you recall, this is where it got a little bit scrappy last time round. We had the 3-prong push coming in from G2. Big Tower, Freezer, and Laundry all being called into action. But G2 just hindered somewhat by the player that was holding behind the A-bomb. We'll see how it plays out this time round and whether or not they mix anything up and try and maybe go for more of a standard construction push. You never know.
Shepard just opening up the rotation there, although not quite a full rotation at the minute. A little bit more work to be done, which I think he'll probably go on complete now. Yes, there it is. So that's just going to allow that access onto Elbow for him to play there. He may well choose to keep a reinforcement in hand to lock that off should he lose his position there. Out goes the deployable shield. So yeah, pretty much standard in and around bunker as well. Sider's going to play a bulletproof camera just out on the wall there. That's just going to allow that information to be fed in towards the smoke player, just help that situation potentially, just give him a little idea of what's to come. Now then, immediate attention potentially towards bunker here. Citizen does spawn in that location, but looks like he's actually going to move more towards rear stage. Look to push in. I'm sure that they'll be very aware of that tier 3 after Virtue, of course, able to get a nice triple from there previously. I like the aggression here from G2, Des. Moving quickly. Virtue, once again, we saw this last time on Laundry Basement, just straight in upstairs. There's drones ahead of him. He's got the information he needs. He's going in and just opening up as many angles as they need.
That's what makes me a bit nervous and unsure, though, is Virtue still ADSing onto every corner and checking all his corners in case someone is there. It's almost like he doesn't trust the droning coming out of his team.
Or
right?
it's
like
not
this.
been done.
Yeah, that's why I'm a bit unsure. Maybe you can assume that no one's going to be on the top floor. Your team are like, oh, well, we're droning downstairs and we can find 3 or 4 players. Don't assume there's going to be a 5th guy hanging upstairs. It's the one round that there's someone is hanging up there, though, and it comes back to bite him. So whether it's they haven't droned it and he knows that he's truly solo up there because they haven't got time, or it's just not trusting his team, I'm not sure. I'd have to ask him.
Joystick playing inside a Freezer. That's likely going to change now as Jonker opens up the security hatch. That will force Joystick at least deeper back, more towards the door from Freezer into Highway. Jonker just getting involved on the laundry hatch as well. Dan nearly catches sight of him, but won't be able to prevent that hatch being opened out. So far so good. G2 really starting to prepare this site. They're tenderising it, Des. They're getting it ready to go into the pan.
Just noticed as well that Dan's running around with the MP5K rather than the shotgun primary, so leaving all that hard work to Shepard. Truly the support player on the team here with all the rotates they might need. Admittedly not absolutely tons needed here, but here come those Roteros this time round, focusing out towards Freezer and getting that rotation opened up. So if Dan were still to play behind the A-bomb chassis, as he did in the prior round, there'll be a little bit easier of a time to push into that.
1 minute left to go. G2, they've got everything opened that they need to at this point, but they haven't started applying any pressure directly onto site yet. We are still 5 versus 5, yet to find a kill, and G2, not that they want to rush things, but they need to start thinking about getting some of these players moving, because Empire so far have been able to basically choose their spots and continue playing there. In goes the Rotero, just to try and clear out some utility down in the corner, and that's...
I think that's a second bulletproof, I want to say.
I think it was, and that's just going to clear the path potentially for Hungry to move into Freezer particularly and start aggressing through the rotation that's been opened up. 25 seconds left to go. It's time to get moving, G2.
Down finding one, Joystick a second. The Citizen does start his push in, but they've already been slaughtered everywhere else. 3 kills fly the way of Empire. The 4th onto Citizen, completing it out. And Hungry, despite the work he was doing earlier on, has nothing really left to offer here. Got to try and push his way in. Sees the one man at the top of the highway. We'll find him. Doesn't know about the player and utility. Empire bring us all square once again. It's 5-5 ace. You know what we're heading towards now.
As an absolute minimum, we're going to see 12 rounds here. Only one of these teams will get the opportunity to close this out in regulation and take the full 3 points. And Empire, they're going to be hoping that it's them because, of course, if Empire get an overtime win, it will temporarily put them in the top spot. But then they will have to watch very closely the BDS game that follows because BDS will be able to take that top spot away should Empire only secure 2 points because BDS have the head-to-head.
And assuming BDS
Empire.
can beat Na'Vi in regulation as well.
Assuming that. There is work to be done still for BDS to take the top spot. But Empire, they're going to want to get this locked down. That's the top and bottom of it. They've got themselves the win there in Laundry. They're now going up to Dorms, which is the other site that they have won so far. As I said at the beginning of this, Des, I feel like it's all going to come down to that third site. I feel like Empire probably get Dorms over the line here. They've already shown a good defence of it. And then it's all down to whether they can lock out that third site.
I'm quite excited to see BDS play because for those who don't know, on Saturday, analysts included, they all arrived at their team house. All gone away for a boot camp, I believe, ahead of Mexico and thought, you know what? Let's play our last game of EUL from the team house as well. So it could be big for them, whereas on Na'Vi's side, they've had all the pressure taken off them. Coming into today, they thought Vitality would beat Secret, which meant Na'Vi then had to match or better the result coming out of Vitality. If Vitality won in regulation, Na'Vi had to win in regulation. But because Secret have managed to 7-4 them, that's no longer the case. So it's not so much that it's a no-stakes game and hands are off. I'm pretty sure BDS will fancy that crack at being in first place. And equally, Na'Vi want to try and push their way up the table as best they can. If they beat BDS, I'm pretty sure they've then jumped their way into third place, potentially even second if they've got the head-to-head, which I'm not quite sure of off the top of my head. Plenty to look forward to either way in terms of standings changing around.
Interesting lines of sight opened up there inside a master bedroom. We just saw the Frost of Dan just led down, looking for a potential angle in towards the sort of classroom and main lobby area. Now Joystick, he's got himself out on the roam with the Aruni, opening hatches, applying laser gates. He's likely to try and just play as much of the round as he can out of security and kitchen. Citizen's going to be the one to go in and challenge him. In goes the drone, and as soon as he sees Joystick, I'm not sure if he just catches the back of him there. The drone does get taken out, but I'm sure he's aware of the presence. He's got Virtue in support as well, so I think these two potentially just going to look for an aggressive push here. They can work together, try and get a pinch onto Joystick.
Being droned in by Kayak as well, he was sat outside of the shower window down to the south, so I do have the support if they need it. Here comes the nade first coming in. Maybe not quite hitting the mark the way that they would have wanted there. I think they're trying to bounce it in to clear something. I'm not quite sure what it was. Joystick obviously is the ultimate target in this case, and there's another fantastic use of those Roteros. Remove away the frost mat, so when you jump into that window later in the round, you aren't having to spray the floor and potentially lose a gunfight. Instead, you can just jump straight in.
Just using them to move men around as well, force side or away side. There's currently watching the security door, I believe, from above, so that's going to prevent the push. What a nade comes in from Kayak and just closes down both Scyther and Dan. That's a massive play for G2, Des. If they can crack the nut of this site, this is a huge move for them inside of this game. It will give them the advantage and the opportunity to close it out and head into top spot. Virtue shuts down Joystick, 5 versus 2 now, and there is very little that Shepard and Always can do here other than try and hold on and just wait for the fight to be brought to them.
Unbelievable. Okay, then with how things are setting up, with that 5 versus 3 in 5 versus 2, sorry, in tow, there should be that G2 rounds that move them up to match point. Can Shepard and Always hold on? Always has had a fantastic season, maybe not so much a game. And Shepard now, with the smoke coming out, is going to block this window. We've got 40 seconds to play, and Virtue's at the window. Does Shepard know? I think he does, but can't do much about it. In come the team, jumping in. Yonka almost being sprayed down, but he's being absolutely crushed. The impact's coming out of Citizen. Always finds one, makes it a second. Can he connect the third? No, he cannot. Doesn't know where he's being pushed from here at any given moment's notice. There is one on white. It is Citizen. G2 up now to 6-5 at the end of round 11. One more, and they beat the Russians.
Empire take their opportunity to just take us to a timeout after that round.
You know what that is? We heard that called mid-round. That was definitely, I'm so triggered that we've just been slapped with a double kill from a nade there. I've never, that definitely wouldn't happen. But I don't think I remember the last time I've seen.
It's going to hurt. The thing is,
have you seen a double nade kill like that before?
I mean, occasionally, but that was pretty spectacular from Kayak.
Just like, Gobi straight over the top in the middle of 2.
Absolutely beautiful. G2 coming in. More than anything, what a time to take that round. Great attack, great aggression onto Dorms. Got in there. They just knew where everybody was. That was the thing for me. Found Joystick very early, kept him in place. Citizen and Virtue didn't allow him to move around too much, and then obviously recognised Scyther and Dan and where they were playing. In particular, I was commenting at the time that Scyther was just holding down the angle onto security door to prevent Joystick being pushed. It was that duo working in combination on the vertical, but the fact that he was locked in there to try and defend Joystick allowed Kayak to just put that nade on an absolute pinpoint.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The small things that Rotero made him move the tiniest bit.
Yep.
Leads to a double kill that potentially snowballs to you to win the round. Beautiful stuff then. Let's see how the last round of regulation goes. Empire need this win to send it into overtime, or G2 walk away with the 7-5. Well, back up on that top floor, Empire clearly acknowledging that last round, largely coming down to that double nade kill that come through and thinking, you know what, we can stop that happening. We know we can still defend this because outside of that double kill, let's not forget that much of G2 was stacked up outside big window. 3 or 4 players there, held back slightly by the smoke that was coming out of the defenders. Shepard, I believe it was. So I understand why they want to give it another crack and see how they can do.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think, without that double nade kill, maybe things do go a little bit differently, but this is always the case with Siege, and so no surprise to see Empire go into the same site again, try and get it locked down. They're 50-50 so far on the day when it comes to defending dorms. Now then, I think Virtue and Citizen are looking to play in towards Joystick again. He's playing in that same position. He's down in security and kitchen. They've already got drones in position around there, and I don't know if there's a slightly different plan of attack here this time, but as you can see, Virtue just monitoring the situation on his drone there inside.
I was looking down the scoreboard there for a second as well and just seeing how the game's generally going for a couple of players on either side. Yonka not having the best time at 2-10. On the other side, Scyther 3-10. I know that Dan and always the players and Joystick, of course, the ones that we'd normally celebrate and highlight on that team, but Scyther has also had some good games this season. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but I swear there was one where he did actually perform really well and was top 2 rated for the team in the game itself. So maybe an uncharacteristically quiet game for him, you would wager. However, ultimately, it only takes 1 or 2 players to be top impact for a game to really go well.
Kayak moves in on the Maverick to look and open the attic wall. That's just going to apply a little bit of pressure through to that top floor to start things off. Joystick still established inside a kitchen. It's Scyther this time playing outside of his usual spot. He's not going to be holding that vertical angle down onto security door. This time he's trying to hold down the attic, which Kayak has now opened up and just gained access to. So pressure will no doubt mount onto Scyther. We've got the player inside of Armory as well. I was going to say previously it's been always, and it is always again now. In goes the drone, so G2 fully aware at this point in time of Always' position. They just need to get in and deal with him.
Also, it's supported by Dan here, who's got ADSs, got the magnets down, the shield in place as well to help them hold on to Trophy, which gives a little bit of comfort that it's not going to be so easy for G2 just to rock up here inside of Master and contest him holding down inside of Armory. There's the C4 you're looking for coming out of Always inside of Attic. That's a great kill onto the window, and now Yonka's going to have a go at it as well. Now the bomb coming onto the rappel. Always with no C4 on side. Pretty sure he can take a good gunfight or two, especially with that shotgun in back pocket.
Absolutely. It's not going to be an easy challenge for Jonka here. He needs to try and find some sort of angle. Citizen just holding down, looking to open it up. He knows exactly where he's positioned, relocates himself. Yonka not in position on the window to be able to challenge. Always taking more damage, but keeping himself alive in this fight. 45 seconds left to go, and he's just holding them at bay. He sees Citizen, he gets a great kill through the vertical angle. You got to remember they work both ways. Virtue, he manages to find that nade kill, but Des, it feels like it's too little too late.
Too little, very too late as well. 2 minutes 15 is consumed inside of there, and now G2 get into Trophy. They're only just starting to deal with the shield that's in there. In fact, it's not even cleared, Ace. They've got the laser gates in place, the mute jammers, the wall is half opened up, but that is by Empire's design. They've got to move so fast here. 10 seconds on the clock in a 4 versus 3, else we go through to overtime. Kayak stepping his way up, Virtue playing downstairs below, maybe not where you want to be right now. Shepard with the shotgun finds one. That should be about it. Kayak going to find himself the next man going down. If he steps around the corner, it's a total closeout by Empire, all the way back from Always playing in Armory. We get overtime.
There we go, exactly as we wanted it. These two greats going toe-to-toe and just wailing on each other at the minute, taking us all the way to a potential 15 rounds. They are 6-0 in regulation, so we head into a best-of-3 rounds now. The first team that can find 2 will take the top spot. But for Empire, let's not forget that might not be enough, Des. For G2, it will be. A win here in overtime will still secure them the #1 spot in EUL Stage 2.
Imagine if that's the way this plays out. Empire get the win, BDS win their next game and still take the top spot. Be absolute insanity of the final day. Whew, well, we've got to get there first, which means 3 more rounds of Siege to play between these 2 teams. And with how that last round played out, I'll be feeling a little bit nervous if I were G2. It's Empire starting off on the defense, starting inside of the basement. Then we'll have a rehost coming through here as someone on the side of G2 has disconnected. It's Yonka. So when he comes back in, we'll be able to get ourselves back in just a moment. But for now, we can come back and take a quick breather. Just savor the moment for a second. It's 6-6 between the El Clasico teams, you'd say. The matchup that we've got here in EUL.
It deserved no less. It deserved no less. We want to see these 2 go the distance. We want to see somebody really earn it, really have to fight tooth and nail to get it done. And that is exactly what is happening right now. Both 4-2 on the defensive halves. So you would have to argue that maybe Empire have a little advantage here starting on the defence. And maybe our story continues into the next game.
Given it's a map we haven't seen G2 on all season long, and I'm not at all trying to suggest they don't know how to play the map. I guarantee you it's been in the back pocket. They've used it when they've needed it.
It's Oregon, of course they do.
They played it at SI. They know how to play it. They just have not touched it so far this stage. It's been their kind of go-to ban against a number of teams that I assume they looked at and said, well, Oregon's their comfort map. Can we kind of edge them onto Chalet a bit? Because we've seen quite a bit of Chalet this stage as well. Really enjoyed seeing Chalet, to be fair. Oregon had its time last year. Now we're in Chalet City, baby. Let's go.
I mean, you're quite right. G2 have banned out Oregon 7 out of 9 play days, but effectively you count today as well. They've actually picked to play it. So, you know, previous to today, it's 7 out of 8 that they've banned it out. So, yeah, we really haven't had any opportunity to see them on it. Does that give them a little bit of an edge because there's less information? We always discuss it. We always make the argument for it. But right now, the thing is, it's a perfect leveling map. You know, whether you've played it, whether you haven't, every team in this league knows exactly what's going on Oregon, inside and out, and it's no surprise, therefore, to see it go 6-0.
They know almost everything, except for Virtue.
How to avoid a double nade kill from Kayak.
Or how to avoid Virtue flanking you from Big Tower. Or how to avoid always going absolutely nuclear in Armory. There's all these individual player factors that weigh into it. Just make it completely different every single time, no matter how well you feel you know it. We can hear in our ears, by the way. We'll communicate that to you. We can hear the players rejoining, which means we'll be back in probably in the next 30 seconds or so. And then this real behemoth of a match can get back underway.
It can do. And I think, to be honest, I'm slightly glad of the break. It just lets us reflect, lets us take a minute, catch our breath before going into what are going to be 3 big rounds.
And we get the full reset of the scoreboard. Not that normally it's a good thing. You want to see who's ending where, and we can loosely remember that Dan was on like 14. I think he was at Citizen and was at 12. There was someone else on 11 on G2. I spoke about Yonka being 2 and 10, about
which will put
Cypher.
Citizen over 100 for this stage as well, which he didn't quite make last time.
Wasn't it? I think it was last stage. We had 4 players coming into SI that had breached that mark.
Yeah,
Alamo, Shaiko.
I can't remember the others though.
I can't remember.
Was it Kino one? I don't
think it was Kino.
Was it not?
No.
There was definitely somebody on the NA side. But yeah, we've had, Shaiko's just gone above and beyond this time.
And he's still got a game to go.
He's still got a game to play. He's over 100 and he's still got a game to play against Na'Vi.
I always remember, I'll never forget about Joystick at SI being across his group games, like 8 games played because the group's got rebalanced.
Yes, I think it was.
And he still pops off and gets 120 something kills.
Yeah, it was absolutely
average of 14 a map. I wouldn't want to face him at Mexico. That's all I'm saying. The man on LAN is a machine.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, we've known that for the longest time with Joystick. There's been questions with Empire for the last 6 months or so where the performance has been a bit shaky, but as soon as they go back onto LAN, bang, straight away you're getting the same sort of outcomes.
It's just terrifying thinking about it. Had the comms in my head a second ago, by the way, a little bit longer, just trying to find out what's going on. I think we Yonker in that case, and we'll be able to get back into things. But you are right there, that touching point on Empire. I'd say not even for the last few months, but probably the last year and a bit. There's been question marks, this new Empire just isn't working. The old Empire, where we do the same thing time and time again, incredibly successful. The new one that was a bit more calculated, a bit more cautious, not quite getting the same effect until we rock up to SI and we're like, they're not really playing well right now. Are they really the team you want representing EU at SI? And then Joystick does Joystick things. The whole team are motivated by them and start picking up as well. And outside of that day one blip against BDS where they got 7-0, they've looked absolutely phenomenal all stage long.
Just gone from strength to strength. It's as simple as that. And as you say, they're on a 6-game win streak coming into this. They're looking to keep that going, and they are still in the fight. We are heading back in. We're at 6-all. This is it. We're coming into the final 3 rounds now between G2 and Team Empire. Just to remind everybody of what's at stake here, it is the top spot in EUL. Both of these teams on 19 points coming in here, so whoever wins will go into the top spot for the time being at least. For G2, it will be enough to completely secure it because they've got the head-to-head against BDS, which are then the only team that could level them up. Team Empire, it will not be enough because BDS have the head-to-head, so could come and pip them at the last. But for the time being, both of them just need to focus on getting the win. They don't need to think beyond that right now. It's just about getting the win and then worry about the rest from there. Site number 1 for our overtime is going to be down in the Laundry. Team Empire starts on defence. Both teams have gone 4-2 when it has been their defensive half. So you would have to argue there's potentially a slight advantage for Team Empire.
And the Kai being brought along for the electrification of these hatches. We saw that earlier on. Hopefully, don't find ourselves with a repeat coming out in terms of hatches being stuck closed. Not that G2 have yet fell foul of that. It was Shepard earlier on who really struggled. And no worries, guys. You will get to see the full scoreboard once the game is all concluded. We'll wait, of course, until what that looks like in the match summary post-game. But for now, you get a completely fresh scoreboard just for overtime. A beautiful thing to get to see at this stage. I'm really keen to see if Hungry does what we saw. Who was it against BDS that did this? I think it was when we saw the Roteros coming flying down from Laundry Hatch, down at the right by Utility, in the kind of under the drone hole, right onto the shield. The one that I look back on where he shot it out as it came rolling in towards the shield from that drone hole behind was because he saw it when he stepped across inside a supply, was looking down towards Laundry, saw it, sidesteps and shot it. Didn't quite have the same effect the second time around it came through as he wasn't then present and watching the drone come in. So I'm keen to see exactly how creative Hungry can get in this round in terms of removing away those crucial utility points coming out for Team Empire.
G2 have not done great on the entry battles so far. They've only had 4 out of 12 rounds go in their favour. Joystick and Dan in particular have been absolutely locking down that area of the game between them. I think they've had 5 or 6 out of the 8 that the Empire have won out on those entry battles. Maybe that's something that G2 really need to try and focus on here, and very nearly Hungry goes in with the shots into Freezer, almost catches the man. Previously, it's been Joystick that's been playing inside a Freezer. I'm not sure if it was this time. Des, it's almost like I spoke it into existence. Dan, once again coming in with an entry kill, this time on Tionka.
With the MP5K on side once again as well. It's consistently the way things are setting up. Got the Joteros jumping in. I think he was trying to get it up on the wall there to destroy the Electro Claw. Doesn't get rid of that, but does get rid of the Banshee. So it's something at least for his troubles, but no doubt here, being Hungry with 3 more in the back pocket, you're looking to see what else they can remove.
Kayak's just going to open the electrical hatch from meeting there. He'll keep working with that blowtorch until there's sufficient damage. There you go, looking like there was a little bit more work to be done there. It was looking a little bit wonky around the edges, but he gets it done. Citizen just looking to step inside a bunker. This isn't an area that's actually been attacked very much so far, Des, today. It's been a lot of rear stage, a little bit of freezer, but not too much pressure coming in from bunker. We haven't seen too many trying to challenge onto elbow, particularly. This time, Kayak, he's going to join in. Out goes the nade towards Shaiko spot, but doesn't matter as the Empire player just dips himself in behind the stairs. Now then, Virtue. That is not ideal. That's the second nade from Virtue that we've seen catching furniture and not landing where it should.
Bounce. I don't know if he was aiming for a guy that might have been behind pillar, but I think he was looking towards highway, and that one even clipped the edge of the pillar. Maybe something you would come back to Rue here is it could have been a nice easy kill coming in. However, when the frags are out, it's frags with a gun coming in, always the one that falls down to Virtue, pushing down onto Big Tower. And now Scyther's aware of his presence, has got to be a bit more mindful. You never know what he might be able to do on a bit of a mad sprint down, but as G2 have found several times this game, they're running out of time. 10 seconds to go. One game for the drop through. It's 2 kills coming in for Empire. They're going to move themselves up to match point as that diffuser is on the ground, unable to do anything. They're going to close it out. Empire win round 13, 1 round away from bringing down G2.
What I'm really enjoying about this Empire performance, Des, is this showing how scrappy they can be. It's been hard fought. They've had to really try and muscle through some rounds. They've been on the receiving end of a 4-2 half to begin with, and they've never sat down, they've never rolled over, they've just kept fighting. And this is what we say about champions. Champions need to be able to win the ugly games as well. You can't just win the 7-0s, the 7-1s. You got to be able to take it to overtime. You got to be able to find something. And right now, Empire are digging deep, and they get themselves a match point opportunity. Can they do what G2 couldn't? Can they get this one done, dusted, and in the books? Empire, they're looking to finish it off right now. They're going to be attacking onto Laundry. That's where they're going to have to take this.
Let's see how much G2 have got left in the tank then. Can they force it up to 15, or does it end at 14? Defense on the downstairs, as you mentioned a second ago. Almost a repeated lineup, actually, what we saw out of Empire just a moment ago. But, of course, a couple of changes coming in for Empire. You're not seeing those Roteros stepping up. Instead, the Iana, the Zofia, and the Ace coming along as their 3 picks they've got there towards the bottom of their rosters. And I'm also very keen to see if G2 do have anyone playing out on their own. We've seen them try and get a little bit cheeky at points, having players dotted around the map, just looking to cause a little bit of chaos for the side of Empire. Whether or not that composure is there to deal with that is entirely going to come down to the Russians', I suppose, capability, their commitment to dealing with any of those players that might be troublemakers in this case. Hopefully, to begin with, not too many.
So this is it. We come into the action phase of what could be our final round in what has certainly been one of the epic matchups of Stage 2 of the EUL here. Team Empire at the minute, they sit in the driving seat, find themselves in the lead with the opportunity to close it out for the first time. Now then, Joystick's going to move in on that predictable route once again, and Hungry, he's there ready to try and put the brakes onto the Empire train, try and throw them off the track, Des. He wants to take that early kill, but no, he's going to dip himself away as the drones start to come in. That's going to allow free entry for Joystick to move in. I think he's supported by Scyther at the moment, just looking to push in along with him and apply some pressure to Freezer.
Yeah, it's kind of going back to what we saw in the first 4 rounds of Empire's attack. The latter 2 is pushing in from the east side and clearing out Classroom, for example. But here, on the basement site, it's always that shower push that we see coming in time and time again. Curious to know why Hungry opted to back away. I don't know if it's because he's playing on the Wamai here and wants those magnets to be used around the site rather than losing them out on an early engage, for example. That second one is jammed out here, so I'm going to have to get someone above to clear it. And I think Hungry wants to challenge. If someone steps up to try and go for this, he's there to go for the shots.
Certainly could be an interesting challenge. He's just going to step back from that, actually, which might allow Empire to just get in and take out that mute jammer. The second Selma, of course, just should have offered an angle down onto that washing machine, should allow them to clear it out. Scyther, he's just going to work in towards rear stage. There you go. Out goes the mute jammer. The Selma will automatically activate, and that's going to be the Laundry hatch opened up. Shepard moves through on the Maverick and heads straight into meeting. He's going to open that hatch into electrical. So pretty smooth on the attack from Team Empire so far.
Hopefully, this time around with 5 canisters in back pocket, we're not going to see this hatch staying closed. It was catastrophic for Empire earlier, almost as much as Kayak being killed off by Joystick, but by the looks of it, a good bit of trade damage coming back in as Joystick is put down, but not out. Good start for them, though. 60 seconds to play. Here comes Virtue, looking to peek up hyper-aggressive. They've got no drone hanging at the top of Freezer, so he could cause some trouble. As Yonka Plonker pushing his way up Laundry, loses his life as well. Always into the second. This could be it for Empire.
It's all starting to fall apart for G2 now. It's crumbling as Empire can smell blood in the water. They know this top spot could be theirs, and they are fighting hard for it. 5 versus 3. 40 seconds left to go. Could time be the old enemy coming back to haunt Empire, though, as the seconds just tick away as the sand runs through the hourglass, and Empire still haven't got themselves established on the site yet. 3 versus 5. 20 seconds left to go. We've seen the chip damage coming in. Will it take its toll on Empire? Virtue holds an angle. He's prone. He just steps himself up. Looks to take the challenge. No, Scyther with a team kill. 3 versus 2. But the pieces start falling, and they all fall in the favour of Team Empire, who take an overtime win against G2 and push themselves to the top of the EUL table.
I mentioned earlier on about G2 at points getting a little bit skittish there. That push coming out of Virtue onto Freezer. If it netted the double, massive for them. But Empire were waiting and ready. They baited him him out. And it was as simple as that to get the shutdown that they needed. Empire win this one, 8-6, not even sending it through to 15. And for now, at very least, guarantee themselves that title as the #1 team. But BDS have got to play next. A normal regulation time win gives them the top spot.
Certainly does. Now, hands up, who had Empire to come top of EUL stage? You're a liar. You're a liar, Des. You put them down. You keep them down after that first 7-0 loss to BDS. And the stage 1 that they had, who would have thought Empire would
win this game?
No, I predicted Empire.
Right.
Who would have thought Empire would be fighting for the top spot at the end of things?
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, what a comeback it's been. Stage 1 being as messy as it was. SI, different beast in joystick, and now in stage 2, a team transformed. It has been phenomenal to watch. I cannot wait to see what this team does at Mexico. The same thing, of course, for G2. So for now, let's throw over to the desk and get their breakdown on this game.
Thank you so very much, boys. Team Empire is #1 in